Hello there, Michael.
This isn't Michael. This is Den.
Okay, Den. Sorry, I made
I'm real.
myself laugh. Okay, Den.
No, I'm having a
No,
rough day. I'm
you're
having a
having.
rough day.
I'm sorry you're having a rough
I'm having some
day.
problems right now.
What seems to be the problem, Den?
For almost 2 seasons, I wore this stupid helmet. 2 seasons. Because it's the frickin' way. This stupid thing here. Shut up. Shut up! It's not about you! It's the Mandalorian! Wear a hat. Don't wear a hat. Wear the helmet. Don't wear the helmet. Shut up. I hate you. I hate you.
Maybe we should
Shut
start
up!
it. Speaking Nerdy Podcast with your host, Mr. Mike Schilling.
And my friend and compadre, Mr. Ricky Poe.
I'm sorry. I kept making myself laugh.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, Den.
I can't get Baby Yoda to shut up.
I hear him.
Then, it helps when you work with a character. Hey, Mike. Going, I'm not Mike. Actually, it wasn't. Anyway, it's all good. But you know what, folks? Tonight we are going to talk about The Mandalorian episode 5. I'm correct about that, correct? Is it 5? Yes,
Yeah,
it's 5.
Yeah,
It's 5.
6, 7,
8.
chapter 21.
Chapter 21. And tonight you can call it everything from the Pirates of Navarro, or you can call it the dysfunctions in the New Republic, or you can call it the dream of retaking Mandalore, or is it really the way? Yes, either one of those is the proper title for tonight.
I'm super confused.
I am super
I'm
confused.
so confused.
I am confused too. And anyway, but less confusing, let's do some nerdy news.
All right, let's do some nerdy news. Well, in box office news,
Yes.
Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves took the box office this weekend.
Nice.
With an okay result.
Really?
Only about 38 million domestic, about around 70 million worldwide, which isn't fantastic. But I'm not sure they were expecting a whole lot. So
that's true.
This could start a franchise, maybe. It's really on the cusp. What I'm more surprised with is how little John Wick did. John Wick had about a 61% drop from the first weekend, which is huge. At least most people say that's huge. Although I will say, I've been seeing that kind of drop second weekend in a lot of films.
Yeah, I have too.
Since the pandemic. It's more often that we see that second week drop off that much, unless it's like a huge blockbuster, like something like the Avatar 2, or some big movie.
Exactly.
But even those have a pretty significant drop off that second week, but it's mostly because the first week was so huge.
Yes, exactly.
So I really expected John Wick to take the box office this weekend, and for Dungeons and Dragons to do about what they did. But so a little bit of a surprise there. In more other Marvel news, Fantastic Four movie we hear is getting a new writer. The writer of Avatar 2, speaking of Avatar, Josh
Okay.
Friedman, will be joining the team and will be helping write. Um, so that's a interesting change there. I think they had already had a writer previously,
Yeah.
but as far as I had heard, nothing had been written yet.
Okay.
But and the director Matt Shakeman, who directed WandaVision, is supposed to be heading up the project.
Okay.
So I'm looking forward to this movie. It is a long way off.
Yes.
We're still almost 2 full years away from the Fantastic Four film. Here's hoping we get a good one this time.
Yes, hopefully they'll. I kind of like the, from the Doctor Strange, the what was it, the multi madness
Yes.
combination. I mean, I like the guy who plays Richards
Yep.
in that, which is I can never remember his name. John, not John Cusack. No, that's a different movie. But no, anyway, but one movie I do want to see that you mentioned is the Dungeon and Dragons movie. I am not, what I think is about my thought about this is that I think Chris Pine is really good in it from what
Hmm.
I've seen. Rotten Tomatoes of all places, both critics and
Yep.
and
Yeah.
regular
Audience
people,
scores are good.
really
Um,
good.
the people that I know that have gone to see it are all saying it's a good movie.
Yeah,
I mean, they're not saying it's a home run, but it's a
yeah,
solid movie. It's funny for those many people who have years of D&D playing. Say
yeah,
it feels like a D&D movie,
yeah.
and they also say if you've never played D&D, you will still be able to enjoy the movie.
I think that's the big thing, and we'll see next weekend on the box office. I mean, like you
Hmm.
said, it's pretty low on the box office, and I think part of
Yeah.
it too, when people hear Dungeon and Dragons, people think it's geared up towards the guys in the basement playing dice,
Yes.
but the reality is that this is they've tried really hard, from my understanding, to widening it up to more of to the mainstream audience as well, but trying to
Yeah.
stay true to the fans of D&D. So I haven't seen it yet. I like to see it. I would love to do a review on it whenever we have the opportunity to get our hands on it. But
Absolutely. Um, up next, staying with entertainment, the X Files. There it the Ryan Coogler says he is in development for
a reboot,
a
okay.
reboot of the X Files. So now they are saying reboot, so it sounds like it is not going to be a direct continuation.
Okay.
Um, Now that doesn't mean that it couldn't be one of those old guard hands off to a new guard, and
Yeah.
it's that kind of reboot.
I get so
Um,
confused at reboots. I always think reboots means that they're totally redoing everything, the characters and all that.
mhm,
But here lately, some of the shows that came out that's calling it a reboot is handing the torch off
yes,
and it's a little confusing to me what they consider to be a reboot anymore. But or a remake, is that different? Maybe it's remake versus a reboot.
I don't know. I mean, the original show started out in 1993.
Yeah.
Um, so it'll be, are we gonna just hop this to 2023? I mean,
Yeah.
it's been 30 years since that show
It
started.
has been. Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
he does say it's going to be a diverse reboot. So, expect there to be a more racially diverse cast.
Okay.
But it is Ryan Coogler, and most of the stuff he does, I have really liked. So
Hmm.
I'm not too worried about him taking the helm there.
Okay. Good. Good deal.
And then in the last bit of news, we have an unexpected Tiger King update.
Oh my goodness.
In Tiger King news, of all things, star of the Tiger King, Carol Baskin, is going to be closing down her Florida-based big cat rescue sanctuary.
Yeah.
The cats are going to be moving out of Florida. Apparently, they are going to be moving to Arkansas, of all places.
Yes.
And they've already signed an agreement
Mm-hmm.
with a wildlife refuge there. And based on some information on their website, apparently their reasoning for closing is that they don't expect to need to continue rescuing big cats like this. They are not the traditional. They aren't the traditional wildlife. They didn't get the big cats to
Yeah.
just show off the big cats.
Yeah.
Their premise was individuals had big cats and weren't
Yeah.
taking care of them properly, so they would come in and take them and care
Yeah.
for them because they had
Gotcha.
the proper facilities and the proper licensing and all that.
Gotcha.
But apparently, a couple of years ago, there
Mm-hmm.
was a law passed by the Congress that made it illegal for people to have wildlife like this, individuals who weren't
Mm-hmm.
licensed. And with that change, they feel like they're not going to see as many cats to rescue. And I guess in the last 2 years, they haven't seen as many, and they feel like it's time for them to move on. They do say they're going to go ahead and financially support their cats in Arkansas, but that they will not be rescuing cats and they will not be being in Florida anymore. So, interesting turn of events in Lion King news.
Well,
Of
it's
all things.
interesting of all things. Well, I mean, at least they didn't bring him back to Oklahoma. Arkansas is very different.
Well, she
Uh,
won that property.
yeah, I
She won
know
that
that
property south
property.
of us. So,
Yeah.
that was a possibility, I suppose.
Do we know whatever happened to that? Or did she close it
I
down
don't,
and sell it? I really don't know what
I
happened.
don't know. There was all sorts of rumors floating around, and then everything the news on it just kind of died.
Kind of
So
died.
my
Yeah.
guess is when she received that property as part of her compensation, that she promptly sold it. But
Probably so. Probably so. I guess she's, yeah. And I guess her husband, well, we won't go there. So,
so that is all the nerdy news I have. Do you have anything else?
nothing else. All I have is what we call the weird and stupid news.
All right, let's do it. It's the weird and stupid news with your host, Mr. Mike Schilling.
Well, does size really matter?
Oh my. Oh my.
No, I'm not talking about that, Takai. I'm talking about something else. You silly man, you. Well, it seems like Spain is taking the phrase size matter to a whole different level. The country's transport industry has been left red-faced after it spent millions of euros on a new commuter train that's too big for the tunnels. That's right. Yes, Renove, the country's national train operator, ordered 31 trains last year to replace older ones in the northern part of Spain, but it turns out that the new trains are useless and they can't fit through the tunnels that were built back in the 19th century. The transport
Wait,
manufacturer.
I just have to ask. Are you sure this wasn't an April Fool's joke?
Unfortunately, not. Unfortunately, not. This is not April Fool's joke, but this is something that happened back in March.
Oh, okay.
The transport manufacturer company CAF won the contract to build the trains, but they claim that they warned Raffinet that the measurements were likely incorrect. Raffinet said, on the other hand, they said they provided the correct measurements from the train track company. Anyway, Spain will go back to the drawing boards and get it right this time, but don't hold your breath, folks. The new service won't be available until 2026.
Oh my goodness.
And what Shawshank Redemption and IHOP has in hand together? Well, I'm gonna well, I'm gonna tell you right now. 2 U.S. prisoners stage a real-life Shawshank prison break by using an adapted toothbrush to dig their way through freedom. That's right.
Okay.
But their escape was short-lived after the pair decided to stop for pancakes.
Oh my goodness.
Prison officials discovered the prisoners were missing from Newport News jail annex. Okay, was missing from Newport in Virginia during a routine head count around 7 p.m. on Monday. The prisoners had dug a hole through the prison walls using primitive-made tools constructed from toothbrushes and metal objects, according to the local sheriff's office. The tools enable them to exploit the construction design weakness in the prison to access untied rebar between the walls and use those to further their escape. The escape had echoes of Shawshank Redemption, the Stephen King novel adapted into a film in which prisoners tunneled out of their cell with a small rock hammer. Now, but in the case of the 2 prisoners, the pair's escape plan was foiled within hours by their apprehended fondness of pancakes. The 2 men were spotted by members of the public at an IHOP in the early hours of Tuesday morning. The escapees were apprehended by the police and they had the rest of their food to go. And that is stupid news.
This has been the Weird and Stupid News with your host, Mr. Mike Schilling.
I can't remember the guy, Pedro Pascal. He's,
yes.
It's funny how there was rumors a while back where, he wanted more FaceTime, with this mask off and everything and the helmet, yeah. And word got to him about this last episode about all suddenly, okay, is it the way? Mask off? And this was his reaction. So anyway,
oh my gosh.
So anyway,
Before we get into it, we should probably give our spoiler alerts.
Oh yeah, sorry about that. Let's get down on that.
If you haven't watched chapter 21, you should go do that now. Just hit pause. Go watch that. Come back. It's actually a shorter episode this week.
It really is.
We're back to the 30-minute-ish, 35-minute-ish episodes. That last episode, it was like 45 minutes long.
Yeah, it seems pretty packed. Had a lot going on. A lot happening.
Everything that we predicted that was going to happen in the last 2 episodes of this season happened in this episode.
It all came together. I mean, up to this point, nothing we said was correct, and then all of a sudden, bam, everything just fell together. Yes,
it's not that everything we've said is wrong. It's that everything we've said is really right. It's just not happening at the time frame we expected.
A lot of people think this season of Mandalorian is kind of disjointed. Well, what do you think about it? Do you feel there's being a little disjointed, or
maybe? I mean, it is. There is some weird. We told some other people's stories. There's some weird. We're gonna, big plot points that everybody expected to take all season long to develop.
Yeah.
Got knocked out in an episode or 2.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, there is some. I think there is some feeling of it being disjointed, but I have the feeling. I have the feeling this is all going to point to, and I think it's pretty obvious.
Yeah, it's obvious.
It is pointing to the sequel series.
Yes.
It's pointing to the New Republic is failing.
Mm-hmm.
The New Republic has similar issues that the Empire had.
Yeah.
There is a imperial element that is rebuilding or gathering,
Mm-hmm.
and there are Republic members who are getting dissatisfied with the new bureaucracy.
Yes,
So,
exactly.
I mean, that is definitely where we're pointing to. Um,
Do you
whether I'm
think?
happy about that or not, I'm a little disappointed. I really want this show to be about the Mandalorian, not about his journey and his needs, not
Yeah.
about the needs of telling the story of why all the things happened in the sequel trilogy.
I don't mind a little bit of touching base. I find the New Republic interesting, but for some reason, I feel like they're rushing it. I
Mm,
feel like, I think there's more story to tell. I feel like if you want to talk about the New Republic, you can do kind of a Andor spy thriller of the New
mhm.
Republic and involved, kind of a spy situation,
Yeah,
it is espionage and all that good stuff. So I think there's some diamonds in the rough there, but I think the problem is that you're throwing so many things in there, and it's really hard to find a good cohesive story about the
yeah,
Mandalorian. And I'm fascinated with the new. I really am. I like going over the period of the New Republic. I think it's weird. I would like to know how quickly we've gotten to the place where in the New Republic, where you have people who were part of the rebellion, who had a heart to help people, and we're going to jump all over the place, but
mhm,
Navarro is a place that needed help, and if it was
mhm,
back in the rebellion, they would assist these people. And
yeah,
there's this really coldness to the New Republic,
mhm,
and it'd be nice to know because Heirs of the Empire addresses some of this stuff. Some stuff that happens in Coruscant. So I I really want to see a deeper story and wonder why this is happening, and just saying, well, we need to hurry up and tell this story so we can get to the part in the sequels where the entire capital, the entire capital planet blows up in the sequels,
yeah.
um, and
I
that's what I feel like what's happening.
I almost feel like somebody had a really good story for Rangers of the New Republic.
Yeah.
They said, "Hey, we're not going to be able to make that film."
Yeah.
And then they said, "Okay, well, I'm going to just use elements of that in my Mandalorian show."
Yeah. And that's, yes, Carson Taver, the whole idea. Yeah, we'll get into that some more, but
I
yeah,
feel like with you, I think I'm with you. It feels like there should be a whole nother show that addresses all these issues.
yes, yeah,
And then let's just focus on Mandalore, on the Mandalorian.
yes,
Let's focus on Din. I'm interested in Din and the child's journey.
I am too.
I feel like it's okay to tangle that up with the overall Mandalore story.
Yes,
I
I
think
think
that makes sense.
I agree with that.
But to tangle it up with the New Republic issues and the Outer Rim issues and the political strife and all the cloning stuff, it seems really cluttered.
I agree with you. I've had a lot of people. I think after the third episode, I've heard a lot of people dropped out just because it was just it wasn't the same consistency as the first two,
Yeah.
and I understand some of the cloning involved because the whole idea of the reason they were wanting to go after Grogu,
Hmm.
because of his levels of the metachlorians, whatever that. Yeah, so that lazy writing, but anyhow, metachlorians. That's all I'm going to say. But you know, but I think what I agree with you is there's to be focused on the relationship between the father and the son
Hmm.
and Bo-Katan and
Hmm.
the Children of the Watch, and the redemptive story of Mandalore. So
Mm-hmm.
I find that more interesting than anything else. But don't get me
Me
wrong,
too.
I want to know about these other things, but present it in a different vehicle.
I agree.
Don't try to cram it down. And I agree with you. They've, the Rangers of the Republic, I think almost like Rogue Squadron and Rangers of the Republic, and they want to squash it together and put it all on Carson Tever,
Yeah.
the main actor there, who is, the main character of that
Yeah.
X-Wing group. So I don't know. It's really, I really think it. I mean, of all things, we have Tim Meadows from SNL on there playing a colonel. I mean,
When Tim
seriously,
Meadows showed up, I was like, is
really?
this going to be is this going to be funny?
I
And it
mean,
wasn't funny. It was kind of sad.
it was kind of sad.
It was
It,
sad and lonely.
it was
And
sadly
he did a
lonely.
great job, though. I mean,
Yeah, I wasn't, but it was very out of place. But he did fine. It's just, I think it's very disheartening how you go right after Return of the Jedi, and then you go right into a cold, bureaucratic, society. And I don't understand how quickly you can go from that to that, because it's really close to one another. I mean, we're not talking about, 10 years. We're talking about, this is maybe a couple of years after, the destruction of the Death Star and the Return of the Jedi.
yeah. Let's see. Yeah, it's only
But
supposed to be like 5 years
yeah,
after,
so
and
we're not.
the
Yeah.
Force Awakens, the first sequel trilogy, is supposed to happen 25 years after Jedi.
Yeah, so it should
So
be a slow transition into a bureaucracy, but we're going from one. We're just
yeah,
ramping it up, and that's disheartening for me. I mean, I don't know, that right there helps. I enjoy the Mandalorian. I thought this last episode was fun.
this was the most exciting
Yeah,
fight wise. I
yeah.
mean, let's be honest, there isn't a whole lot of story.
No, none
it,
in
it,
this.
it,
No.
it's one big battle, but
Yeah.
it's a really good one. It's a really good battle. The CGI is great in this episode. It's all solid. It all looks good. And as weird as the Pirate
Shard.
King, yeah, as weird as Shard looks,
Yes, aka the Swamp Thing.
yes, aka the Swamp Thing, it really works well.
Yeah. Yeah, it does so well that I think Disney has a new ride called Pirates of the Outer Rim. It's going to be right next to the Pirates of the Caribbean, so they have a whole
Yes.
new ride in that right there. But yeah, some of it too, and I'm gonna nitpick a little bit just for fun. In the scene where you have Garga, is talking about how, making a train system to go from one port to another
Yeah.
port. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, new trains, they sound great, but should you first spend resource on protecting your town from the dangers of the outer rim? I mean,
there is that,
so anyway, I mean, we're not, it's,
but if he messes up though, that train thing, the trains might not fit in the tunnels.
well, that's right. Cause yeah, that's right. Cause you know that size matters. Size matters. So anyway, yes. So yes, back to what we're talking about. So I just thought that was interesting, and also it was kind of interesting. I mean, there's in this Mandalorian, there's a lot of these little Easter eggs that makes a callback for things that happened, whether it's into the whether it's the prequels. Mainly, I see a lot of them that has to do with the original three.
Yeah,
New Hope and there was one where the pirates are bombarding, bombarding the town, and Karga basically does this Princess Leia thing with the
I
R2
thought
unit.
exactly the same thing.
And I thought, okay, well, we got that going for us. I thought that was interesting. So,
Help me, Din Djarin. You're my only hope.
only hope. Yes, exactly. Exactly. So, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot here. There's some stuff that's exciting to me. I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to. What do you think? This is like a groovy X-wing base in the tropic. They
Oh, I
had a
know.
tropical planet,
I
which I thought
know.
was
It's
kind of
actually kind of
cool.
cool.
Kind of cool, and I can see a whole series on this right here. Maybe that's the whole idea of maybe Rangers of the New Republic or something like that. But Carson Tever is the man
Yep.
he's the captain
This is
of
the most FaceTime he has gotten in any
yes,
episode.
exactly. He is the captain of, let me see what we've got here. El Delphi Ranger captain. El Delphi Ranger. So there he is, the Ranger in the title.
Rangers
And I don't this is the first time I've heard them use the term Ranger referring to these X-Wing cops or whatever you want to call them.
I mean,
Or
if
have
you
we
think
heard
back
it before?
not exactly,
Done.
but if you go back
Done.
to, yes,
Was it?
Carradine, and then if you go back to the first episode of this season,
Okay.
Karga, the magistrate, says,
Yes.
tells Din, you would make a great, you'd make a great marshal or sheriff or whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
And then Din says, why don't you just call the New Republic and have them send you somebody?
Yeah.
And
exactly.
that's kind of that, U.S. Marshals, the Rangers,
exactly. The Rangers,
I'm the new sheriff in town kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's that whole Western idea. So all of that kind of fits in the whole theme of this.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that they're calling them Rangers now. So I kind of like it.
I think it's fascinating in the scene. I really think the scene in this, I guess what you would call it, the Republic outpost on this tropical planet. There's a scene in there. Of course, he receives the communique from Gareth or Karga.
Can I borrow your viewer?
Yes, exactly. Can I borrow your viewer? But the most exciting thing about it to me is the reintroduction of the live action version of Zeb from the Republic series. And it looked really good. And they actually had the real voice actor, Stephen Plum, who actually did the voice acting during the animated series of the Republic. And it makes me wonder, I have this feeling that we'll definitely see him return in Ahsoka. The whole, especially it makes sense. Especially it's going to consist of finding Ezra Bridgers. So anyway, that's my thoughts on that. But
when I saw that character, I was like, I really hope I get to see more of him this season.
I do too.
And then we just saw him for like the few seconds he was there.
I was kind of hoping he was going to go with him and say, let's go save him. I was waiting for this point. I thought it'd be so cool that screw the New Republic. We know why we were in this fight in the first place. Exactly. Here comes the cavalry. That's what I wanted. I wanted everybody from that squadron to go.
Me too. I was like, they should just buck the orders and go.
Yeah.
Even if they had just shown up at the last minute to save the day, they are the cavalry coming into town. But I was disappointed that they didn't.
No, and it really was frustrating to me because Tever, he's very concerned about what's happening. It's almost like he's very prophetic about things to come.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, everything.
There's something happening out in the outer rim.
Yeah, and he says by the time it gets big enough, it's too late for you to do anything, and that's what he tells the Colonel Tim Meadows.
Yeah,
And of
which is
course,
exactly
go
what
ahead.
we see in
Yes,
the sequel trilogy. So,
exactly.
the more we talk about this, the more I feel like when they said, "Hey, you're not gonna get to do Rangers of the New Republic," somebody said, "We've got these great story ideas. How can we fit them into the Mandalorian since we have it?"
Yeah, and I don't understand why we wouldn't want to do a series like that. It didn't have to fall on the actress Cara Dunn, which I still am sad that we lost her. I thought it was a great character,
Yeah.
but I really do think you have some good characters in play. And what's really cool, I was gonna this kind of a fun thing I found. Dave Filoni, we all remember Dave Filoni with his
Oh, yeah.
cowboy hat, who was as far as I'm concerned, is the savior of Star Wars. Uh, but he actually, and of course, if you remember him, he played uh, what's, last name Wolf. Um,
Okay.
I can't remember the
I
first
couldn't
name.
remember the name.
I can't remember anyway, but he actually is in a scene. He's in that bar, and it's very, very small. He's in the bar. If you see
Oh,
right, yeah, very small, and then very small cameo, and in it, he's wearing his hat and that the hat that he normally wears in real life. So I thought that was kind of cool
that's cool.
that he was in that. But I think it would be cool to have, Rangers of the New Republic, having these guys, having, being it doesn't have to be, Rogue Squadron or anything like that. Anyway,
Yeah.
I would really look forward to seeing that. And I think this is the kind of
Yeah.
stories I want to see. Andor, what a great story that was. For it,
Mhm.
it is what it is. And it
Yeah.
had nothing to do with Jedis. It had nothing to do with the mythical stuff. It was
Yeah.
basically, these are the ordinary people trying to deal with what's happening, within the Imperial Galaxy. And I
Yeah.
would like to see that in the New Republic as well. So,
Me too. I think that could have been a great show or a great movie. I can't remember if it was going to be a show or a movie.
yeah,
But I mean, as of right now, it looks like it's not going to happen at all.
no, it
And
doesn't.
Disney has kind of pulled back the reins, saying they definitely are doing it on Marvel. It sounds like they're probably doing the same thing with Star Wars. They're going to try to limit their output a little bit.
Yeah.
Make it more exciting when it happens and better when it does. But yeah, that's an interesting kind of situation with them. This whole Mandalorian thing is getting super interesting to me.
Yes, it is.
I'm we kind of had this we've got this weird four-way, not exactly a four-way struggle for power, but we've got these four big players.
Yeah.
We've got Vizsla, who
Yeah.
is commanding, and
Yeah.
he's dominant. He's got this domineering personality, but but he understands how things work, and he's true to it, and he stands up for what he believes, whether good or bad, he's going to stand up for what he believes.
Yeah.
Then we've got Bo-Katan, who
Yeah.
we've talked about previously, who wants to be in power, but nobody respects her at all
Yeah.
anymore. Then we've got the Armorer, who's kind of the leader, but usually has taken a back seat until this week.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we've got Den, who's kind of an outcast from everybody, but anytime he shows up, he's always showing up to save the day
Yeah,
and help
exactly.
everybody out. So everybody's willing to follow him because that's who he is. So you got these four major players, and we're starting to see them, for a short moment for this episode, we see them all work together really, really well and
Yeah.
effective. And
I
then we see them split up again.
I find it exactly. And I mean, we're going to kind of jump all over the place like we normally do.
Yeah.
If you've seen it, you've seen it, so you know what we're talking about. Was it just me, or did you think it was a trick? The armor was trying to trick to take the helmet off for a minute for Bo-Katan. When she said, "Take your helmet off," it was like Bo-Katan was like, she was nervous about it. So, what do you mean? I'm finally accepted.
Mm-hmm.
I'm giving into this thing. Okay. I'm starting to, buy into it. And
I'm
now you
getting
want
some
me to,
respect too.
yes. So you're wanting me to take my helmet off. And then not only that, you want me to walk out there with the people who I thought I had a bond with my helmet off. And then all suddenly the armor has this change of heart saying, Bo-Katan has walked two worlds and she can bring all of us together, all
Yeah.
Mandalorians. But I'm trying to think in myself, okay, where all suddenly this change of heart going from Den, you have you have sinned and you need to go down to the waters and be redeemed from, you know what, Bo-Katan? You can bring us together to bring back Mandalore. And that's a real shift in gears pretty
Yeah.
quickly.
Yeah. It did kind of feel that way, but I understand it. I think I understand it a little bit. And it's kind of that idea of, the armorer wants to see Mandalore restored
Yes.
in some way, shape, or form. She wants to see that happen. But she also knows, internally, she knows that her covert is still considered a cult by many.
Yeah.
So if Bo goes out as a part of the cult, she's not going to be able to bring people in.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes sense in that vein that if she stayed a part of that cult, if she said, this is the way, and I keep my helmet on all the time now, I think
Yeah.
even those who weren't following her would
Yeah.
not start following her just because she kept her helmet on. In fact, I think keeping her helmet on would actually make her cause less effective.
Yeah, I think so
So
too. It's kind of like she's sending her off as a missionary,
a little bit,
and a
a
little
little bit.
bit. Well, and I think too, the armor, like you said, I think she's grappling with the realization that, her group cannot bring back Mandalore. They cannot
Right.
reestablish it. Also, too, I think there's some things too that the armor is kind of not questioning, but she's seeing with her own eyes. Here is Bo-Katan, who saw the Mythosaurus. And she
Yeah.
believes now that she saw the Mythosaurus, and that was a sign. Also, too, she sees the leadership
Mm-hmm.
that Bo-Katan has. She sees how much she sacrifices and how she's willing to do what's
Mm-hmm.
right for Mandalore. One of the
Yeah.
biggest honors she mentioned was when she saved a foundling.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot there. And I think through her credit, Bo-Katan's credit is where the armor is looking at, you're going to be the one to bring us together. And
Yeah.
even the armor sees that.
Yes.
With the dark saber or not, that's not, and that's a whole
Yeah.
different ball of wax there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dark saber or no, you are the one who's going to be able to bring Mandalore back together.
Exactly. So that will be interesting to see how that furthers into it. And there's some things, and of course too, after rescuing, Rivaro, there was this big presentation where, Karga says,
Yeah.
this is, this part of Navarro, this is your land. And of course, originally he talked to Den about, here's a parcel of land that you can live on
Yeah.
peacefully. And of course, throughout all of that, he accepted it. And, and of course, that's a place where the watch can stay comfortably and
Yeah.
can, and be accepted. but the bigger plan is Mandalore. That's
Yeah.
the ultimate plan for um, for these Mandalorians.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not for sure, how this is all going to play out. Navarro, is Navarro's going to continue being, is that was just the situation for the week, or are they still going to have stuff happening there?
Yeah, I'm a little I'm a little unsure where the next episode goes.
Yeah.
Are we going to follow Bo-Katan? Or are we going to follow the big reveal at the end of
Yes.
this
At the very
episode
end. Yeah.
where we find that this transport that's been destroyed was definitely the transport that Moff Gideon was on, and now there's a big question as to, did Mandalorians set him free?
Yeah, exactly.
Which I don't buy that Mandalorians set him free,
I don't.
but it is slightly possible. This is my one caveat there.
Okay.
Mandalorians could be responsible for what happened to that ship, but they didn't set him free.
Yeah.
If they hold him responsible for the destruction of Mandalore,
Yeah.
they could have taken it upon themselves. Basically, a Mandalorian lynch mob
That could be
shows up to take him from the New Republic because they don't feel like the New Republic will actually do anything with him. They'll try to rehabilitate him or some other thing, and they're going to take him and actually deal with him. So that's my only...
Yeah.
I'm a little conflicted. Is it a trick to make you think Mandalorians did it?
Exactly.
Or did Mandalorians actually do it because they don't trust the Republic, the New Republic, to actually do their part of justice, or what the Mandalorians would consider justice?
No, I agree. Yeah, I agree with that. And there's two ways to look at that. You ask yourself, okay, Beskar, why it's in there? Why they see the the remnants of that, the destruction of that. So that possibly could be. I mean, there was a lot of them left Bo-Katan, and some of them wants revenge for what happened to Mandalore. So that possibly could be that. And then that within itself can cause friction between Mandalore and the New Republic.
Yes.
And so you have a whole new political situation going on there. Mm-hmm. So, you have good Mandalores and bad Mandalores, or whatever you want to call them. I don't know. You might fall into that situation. And of course, the New Republic can't tell the difference. It's just, you either good or you're bad, or however you want to call it.
Well, and even and I feel like it's a stretch to even say they're bad.
No,
they want backyard justice. Yeah, they don't want Coruscant justice.
No, they don't.
So,
the bureaucracy there, yes.
It's not exactly that they're bad Mandalorians. They just don't trust the New Republic to actually be able to carry out justice properly.
Yeah. Well, and there's a whole other angle too. And of course, we go back to Tim Meadows, the Colonel. And there's the scene where, boy, this kind of got under my skin. Carson, Teva, he's trying to make a request, pleading, saying that we need to have save these people. And I tell you what, Eli Kane, played by Kathy O'Brien, boy, she plays a real conniving baddie, and and it just really shows how naive the New Republic is, letting someone like that being in a command center of all places.
Yeah.
and she's just kind of whispering in Colonel Tuttle, which is played by Tim Meadows, in his ear, and just says, well, what do they expect if they refuse to be part of the New Republic? And that should be an example of why they should be part of the New Republic. And she goes on and
It's
on. And of
it's
course,
it's Wormtongue and the King of
yeah,
Rohan all over again.
yeah. And Tevere says, I expect that from you, being imperial. And of course, then all suddenly Colonel sticks up for her and saying, and that's really weird to me. It's this whole
Yeah.
um this whole amnesty thing is really, it's really odd to me how they, I like
Yeah.
how Tevere says, he says, no, she said you were captured, and she says, no, we were liberated. And that,
Yeah.
and Tevere, he understands, he was in the rebellion, he understands what's happening. And and of course you can tell he's not a big believer in the amnesty,
Yeah.
because here are these people who
Mm-hmm.
was all about wiping us out in the rebellion, and now you're bringing them in and trusting in them in a command center and part of the New Republic, even the military structure. I mean,
Yeah. Using the line, that's imperial thinking.
it's imperial thinking, yes. And so I find that interesting. It's but I think there was a lot of screen time with Carson Tevere. I think I wonder how much more he'll be involved in this. Again, I would really like to see him and his squadron be involved somehow, like the
Yeah.
cavalry, and because you can tell Tevere, he's an interesting character. He's very conflicted. He's a man of duty. At the same time, he
Mm-hmm.
understands justice. And,
Yes.
you even see that in the first Mandalorian, where he had the opportunity to take Mando in, and he did not. And
Right.
so he is a man of morality and duty, but also he understands that, eventually you're going to have to break the rules to do the right thing. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
wondering if this is the direction. I'm kind of hoping that is what happens, that his squadron rallies behind him, and there's a scene or something where they go in and they
Yeah.
just, go in and save the day. Because I was hoping that was going to be the case for Navarro, and that didn't happen.
Yeah. So if we have an escaped Moff Gideon,
Yes.
so now the question comes to: are we going with the Mandalorians took him? No,
Yes.
if we go with that premise, whether they rescued him or just captured him in a new place,
Mm-hmm.
I don't see them. I don't see them rescuing him outright. I see them. If they took him, they're wanting their own kind of street justice.
Yeah.
But if he gets away from them and is able to lead some sort of massive attack
Yeah.
against the Mandalorians, now it makes real sense for these Rangers to come swooping in and
Yeah.
save the day. That makes sense, and I think that could be a direction we're headed.
Yeah. It could be.
For the big final, two-parter, which seems like they usually do a two-parter to end these things.
Yeah.
So that could make sense.
Yeah.
And that may be it's going to be one of those, who finds them first.
Yeah.
Are are they going to have to go face off against the Mandalorians because they need to now take Moff Gideon away from them so they can get him back to the New Republic, so that they're not coming in to save the day? Or do they not show up until Moff Gideon has come to a place where he can do battle properly?
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean,
that one's one of those. I feel like they could go either way, but we only have like 3 episodes left. I'm trying to figure out how Moff Gideon has enough time to build a structure, a group, except
Yeah.
they were hinting pretty strongly that the pirates and the remnant of the Empire were somehow
Yeah.
working together. So maybe that's the connection we're going to get.
I think it may lead to the very end, maybe a glimpse of the real big baddie, the big, the boss of all. If you think
Mm-hmm.
about it, I'm still trying to figure out, okay, what's the deal with Pershing? Okay. Is his brain fried? He was the father of the
Mm-hmm.
cloning, or not father of cloning, but he understood, he had a
Right.
under grasp of cloning. So what's the reasoning behind, you know, Captain, I can't remember her name anyway. It's Eli.
Mm-hmm.
What was the thing with Eli? Why does she fry his brain? Is it because they already have the process of cloning, and they don't? She didn't want it to get in the hands of the New Republic. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
what's the thing? Because about this time too in the New Republic, there's if there's already cloning, and we're going to talk about the sequels, well then to what point do we have a young ambitious Snokes, coming in?
Mm-hmm.
And because he is kind of the leader of the First Order until he's
Right.
slayed by Leia and Solo's son.
Yeah.
Which anyway,
Yeah,
but
Kylo Ren who takes care of that issue. But the
we know Thrawn, his name has been tossed out so many times, so we know, is Thrawn the one that's orchestrating all of this? Everyone's serving someone in
yeah.
this. And so, and it makes me sad because I hate talking about the sequels. Okay. And that's really what's really bothering me in all of this. But I have to, but to really look at this, you have to look at all the foreshadows of leading to the sequels, because that's where they're going, whether
Yeah.
you like it or not. So
Yeah, that's a great question, and I feel like Thrawn could be the guy.
yeah,
I feel like that's a possibility, but I'm not sure how that works with the end of Rebels.
yes,
You know, it, with Ahsoka searching for Thrawn, if you saw, if in the final scene of The Mandalorian, you see Thrawn, giving an order or getting a notification that Moff Gideon is dead or something like that.
yeah,
Then we know that Thrawn is alive and well. We know that Ezra Bridger didn't kill him or defeat him on the bridge of that ship when they disappeared into hyperspace.
yeah,
Um, so I mean that kind of makes sense, but I don't, and it definitely would lead us right into Ahsoka,
yeah.
but it doesn't help push along the Mandalorian story at all.
No, it does not.
I, I mean, I feel like it's a great post credit scene kind of thing,
Yeah,
even though the Mandalorian doesn't have post credit scenes. It would be a great post credit scene kind of thing, but it doesn't help this story. And I want to hear this story. I'm tired of hearing all the other stories.
yeah. I'm with you on that. I mean, we have 3 episodes left. It'd be nice to wrap this up. What's happening with I mean, we talked about this before. Remember the Book of Boba
Yeah.
Fett? We talked about this. I mean, how are you going to wrap up within 3 episodes? You've just totally you just threw up on the table, and where you start cleaning to get it all cleaned up, and you have all these loose ends. So how are you going to tie them up, or at least tie up the stuff that's important that you're wanting to tell this story? And so
Yeah.
but we've been wrong before. They've somehow threw it together. Not saying they threw it together the way we want it to, but they threw it together.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting how these next 3 episodes will come to play.
Yeah, I don't know how they're going to pull it off. I do think it's going to be fast. It's going to be much faster than we think it should be, no
Yes.
matter what it is.
No matter.
I'm a little confused as to whether or not we see the redemption of Mandalore this season at this point.
It'd be hard to see that happening, but we thought the same thing about the redemption of Din. So,
and the, the battle for control of Navarro, we thought that was going to be the big 2-episode closer.
Yeah.
And we were wrong there too.
Yes, we were. Yes, we were. It happened, but definitely was not when we thought it was going to be. So
yeah, I'm a bit at a loss. I think, and we need to start wrapping this up, but
yeah,
I think my best guess at this point is we're going to see the Mandalorians holding Moff Gideon, or at least find out they took him, and then somehow an Imperial remnant is going to rescue Moff Gideon. And then we're all going to have a big space battle, maybe on Mandalore.
Maybe
it's a big battle on Mandalore, but I think that will be the big culmination at this point.
Yeah.
I don't see any other way for it to make sense. I do hope the New Republic comes in as the cavalry, and I hope they didn't get orders from Coruscant.
Yeah, me too.
I hope they just decide they need to go and they go.
Yeah.
Like you said, I think that's a brilliant thing. That had not occurred to me till you said it. I think that would be perfect. It's that a remnant is there to save the day, or a remnant of the Empire is there. They have, saved Moff Gideon from the Mandalorians, and the New Republic swoops in to save the day. I think that would be a nice little wrap up of this season.
I agree,
but I don't think that gives Bo-Katan time to redeem Mandalore.
I agree with that. You're gonna have to really do you're gonna have to do a lot of pushing into a square peg with a round, trying to squeeze this whole story in. But yeah, I'm with you. And of course, you can catch us, you can catch us on speakingnerdy.com.
Yep.
Also, we have our social media, which is on Facebook or on Instagram. You can check us out. We're on TikTok. So check out some of the little snippets we have on there. And also too, you can on the YouTubes as well. It's YouTube/Speaking Nerdy. You can catch us on there too. That's where all our stuff is at, and in audio podcasts, wherever you like to listen to, we're on there as well, Speaking Nerdy. And I have nothing else to add to this.
I don't either.
So catch us next week, same time, same station, and we'll see you then.
And we'll find out how wrong we were again.
Exactly. Like always.
Podcast with your host, Mr. Mike Schilling.
And my good friend and compadre, Mr. Ricky Poe. I tell you what, I'm so sick and tired of, what's that? Really, that's, this is a cash cow for Disney. That's all it is.
Absolutely.
Really? That's all it is.